Dr. Doreen October.
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen October.
Dr. October.
Dr. Doreen October.
Dr. Doreen October is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Back to Autism Live and to Ask Dr. Doreen.
It's so good to be back.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time, yeah.
And we always miss you when you're gone.
Thank you so much.
But we know that you have other important things to do and other important places to go.
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of traveling for me, but I also know, I think the show was off for a few weeks anyway.
We've had a couple of shows off here and there, hit and miss. So
it's good to be back.
It is good to be back.
You.
It's thrilling to be back. Always wonderful to be here with you. And for people who don't know, Dr. October is a true expert in the field of autism. I believe the preeminent expert in the field of autism. She's a visionary in this field. She can not only see what's coming around the corner, which I think is amazing, but she's always thinking about the entire autism community, not just the individual, although of course the individual, but thinking about the family and the community and how we can get the entire community to participate so that we can remove roadblocks, right?
Yeah,
and make more things possible.
Right. That's right.
Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
I do say behind your back.
You embarrass me.
No, I say behind your back all the time that I would follow you into a burning building because I would know you were going in for a good reason.
Yeah.
Right? And I would. I don't know too many other people. Like obviously I would follow my son into a burning building, but even if it was my husband, I'd be like, honey, what are you doing? Why are you going into the burning building, right? So I think there's you and Jem that I would be like, no, I'm going in.
Love you.
But
you,
I would know you were going in for a good reason. Even with Jem, I would be like, I don't know why you're going in. I'm not sure if it's right, but I'm going in with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. With my husband, I'd be like, don't do that. I've asked you not to do that. I love my husband. My husband's the best. But I would still be like, honey.
You'd be questioning him anyway.
Of course I would. Of course I would. So thrilled to be here with you and have you answer people's
Thank
questions.
You very much.
It's a lovely thing that you donate this hour to be able to answer people's questions.
My pleasure.
We do like to give a disclaimer at the start of the show to remind people that there is no expert in any field with any amount of expertise that could give individual specific advice in this particular format. So that's not what we're doing, but if you write in and if you're as specific as possible, what Dr. October will do is she'll give you information based on her knowledge, but then you need to take that back to the experts who have eyes on the individual to help you to figure out what to do next. Right. But this is a huge savings of time and money, and it's a great thing to take a tour of Dr. October's brain so that, you don't have to, the amount of time you would have to spend looking up the answers that she gives you, you would never have enough time because it's a lifetime of experience.
And continues to be learning.
Well,
I also learn a lot of stuff as time goes on.
But that's another thing that I really appreciate about you is that I have had the opportunity now to be in a lot of rooms with you and see, and when I tell you guys she's the real deal, I have seen many times when I thought, well, the easier decision would be to do one thing, and you never pick the easy way. You always pick the right way. I'm always impressed. Always.
Thank you, Shannon.
With what you decide to do.
Thank you very much.
And I know for people watching, it can be very confusing in the autism world about who can you trust, who's in this for the right reasons. And I always say behind your back, I don't think I say it enough to you, but she's the real deal. She is the real deal.
Thank you very much.
Always doing the right thing. I appreciate it. That's why I would follow her into a burning building. Okay, now, let's get down to some questions. Okay, so this was one that came in a while ago, but I wanted to have you discuss it because we don't want to leave things up to me. Because what do I know? But anyway, so, and this is somebody who's studying to be a BCBA, wrote in and said, can you explain what pairing is when discussing ABA, how long does the process take, and how do you know the place you have chosen is doing it well?
Yeah, and so I kind of need a little bit more information because I don't know exactly what you're referring to. So pairing could refer to many different things. It could be the pairing of two stimuli. It could be pairing of a reinforcer with a particular stimulus. So maybe you can write in and tell us.
Okay.
A little bit more what it is you're referring to.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll look forward to them writing back and saying that. Okay, the next question. Good morning, ladies. I would love for Dr. Doreen or any other specialist to answer my question, please. I'm in New Jersey and currently looking for a school For my 8-year-old with autism, he's at home with me right now because the school he attended last year was a big mess. It was a special needs school, and my son acquired so many negative behaviors while he attended there. The school he attended before this one was an autism school with ABA all day long, but we decided it was not appropriate for him anymore because he's very verbal and had no one to make friends with since all the other kids were nonverbal or had very little language. My son is considered high functioning on the spectrum since he has lots of language and can talk in sentences for all his needs, things he likes, things that bother him, like if he's in pain, and when it comes to things he's interested in, he can talk for a very long time about it. He's very smart, but has behaviors like hitting his head, and then they did not continue. So this is a question in this neighborhood that we get a lot from people, that there is that gray area of kids that the school just doesn't know what to do with them because they can speak. And some schools tend to want to put them with kids who are very profoundly affected, which, parents will write to us and say, I don't think that's where my child belongs. And they don't know because schools don't quite know what to do with them. So what would you suggest? They're in New Jersey.
Right. So, and I was looking at it from also a different perspective, which is that if a child has a lot of deficits, is like suffering from sort of severe aspects of autism, then those are the times where you might actually look at special education, which this is special education. And then you would say, okay, now I'm focused, because there are so many things to teach, I will focus on those things that are the most necessary, the most important, like let's say language, communication, safety, whatever it is, right? But then there are situations where a child is higher functioning, and to begin with, I'm not sure looking at a special ed school is the right placement. So, and again, it's really hard for me because I don't know your child, I haven't seen your child, but I do want to make a few comments on what you've written. So, you wrote that he is considered higher functioning on the spectrum. I assume someone has said that to you, which is great. That's a good sign. And he's very verbal, and he had no one to make friends. He's very verbal. He talks in sentences. He has a lot of language. He can express his needs. He can talk about the things he likes. He talks about the things that bother him, or if he has pain. He can talk about the things he's interested in so to me, this is actually a higher functioning child. And really, you're not going to find an autism classroom that is going to be appropriate for him. What you most likely need is a regular education classroom with a one-to-one aid for him, plus a lot of hours of ABA outside of the school. So, and let me just go back and talk about how that works. I just want you to also know that hitting his head, it has nothing at all to do with the severity of his autism. The hitting his head has to do with frustration, not knowing how to express his frustrations, and not understanding, not being able to self-regulate. We all get upset. We all have kind of internal tantrums, but we've learned to, and even children, over time, that's one of the things. It's taming, right? The environment tames us and teaches us that tantruming in certain conditions is not okay. In other conditions, when you're a little child, it's very acceptable. So what happens with our kids is they never really learn that hitting his head and so on is not okay. And I'll tell you why. Because when a child hits his head, our normal reaction is to completely freak out. Like everyone, if you see a child hitting their head against the wall, let's say, we all panic and we run to the child. And what the child learns is that this is the easiest way for me to get attention. It's way easier than to ask. It's way easier to help than to wait for help. It's the fastest, quickest, easiest way to get attention. So, please, I'm not saying don't pay attention to him when he hits his head, because we would need to do a real functional assessment and figure out exactly why he's hitting his head. But what I'm telling you here is that hitting your head doesn't detract from the high functioning level of autism that he has. So being a high functioning child, you need to shoot for a little bit higher goals. And what that is regular education with lots of modifications for him. And that goes through an IEP. So you can have an IEP, an individualized education plan for him, where you request a one-to-one aide who's helping him through every activity, and modifications, accommodations. That's what they're referred to as accommodations. So things like, you know, you will be given the homework ahead of time. You will be told the material that he needs to study. The one-to-one aide will help make things a little bit easier for him, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of that sort of stuff is modified for him. But now there will be areas, not just in his academics, but in other things as well, like making friends and socializing and showing appropriate behavior and so on. There will be things that the one-to-one aide or the teacher cannot teach him. And so those will be things that will be taught to him through his actual ABA program. And so you need an ABA program. We are actually in New Jersey. There are other providers that are in New Jersey. New Jersey is a mandated state. There's a lot of insurance coverage. So what you end up doing is you find a regular program, school program for him, and you find a provider of ABA services. And he'll be going, he's only 8, so you could even have him go to school part-time, so he doesn't have to go the whole day. Even if he goes the whole day, you still have all weekends and every afternoon to receive ABA. And you could easily give him 25 hours of ABA, which is perfect and wonderful, and it would make a huge difference for him in his life. And so push him a little bit harder and give him a lot of tutoring and help.
Yeah, I always think about if we were gonna, like, for instance, I'm not a golfer. I don't know how to golf. And if I were to go and you know, somebody handed me a golf club and said, okay, let's golf now, and you got 3 seconds to hit this tee, and I'm not going to do it right the first time. And if they said, well, now you just forge on, and every time we get up to the golf tee, nobody tells me what I'm doing wrong. I get no instruction. By the 8th hole, I'm going to be frustrated. I'm not going to want to do it anymore. I'm not going to be having a good time, even though it's supposed to be something that's a leisure activity.
Absolutely.
And for our kids going to school, it's that times a million, because they're every single activity at school. If you don't know how to negotiate it, you just keep hitting a wall and it doesn't work, right? But if we give them the ABA on the side, it helps them to be able to take that moment, pare it down, get practice doing it, and then go back into the classroom and using it. So, you know, for the younger kids, I hear you say all the time, when we have the 4-year-olds who aren't ready to go to school yet, and school wants them to come to nursery school, keeping them at the center, getting them revs, so when they're 5, they go, great. But for the 8-year-olds, I think we forget all the time how important it is to be giving them a workout area where they can perfect the things that they want to do at school.
Absolutely, Shannon. And also, it's even more than that, I think. It's not just that they don't know what to do, it's also that they've learned a completely different thing to do, which now becomes completely non-functional for them. So just as an example, I don't remember which wise mom said this to me, but it was definitely a mom who said that when our kids are young, when they're babies, they cry. And we learn to, typically developing babies, right? And that's fine, because that is the way the baby communicates. They cry one way if they want to be changed, one way if they're hungry, one way if whatever, they want attention and play or whatever it is, or if they're tired, right? So we learn that. Now, with our kids on the spectrum, with typically developing kids, at one point, it's not appropriate anymore. Like at 1.5 or 2, if someone's crying for food, every mom will hold the food and say, use your words, right? Tell me what you want, whatever it is, right? We teach our kids that way. With our kids on the spectrum, we don't do that because we're so shocked by the label autism. And because in some cases it's hard for them, right? They have apraxia, they have other issues, so they can't really switch over to other more adaptive ways of communication. So these types of things like hitting their head, tantruming, and so on remain as forms of communication. And then they go to school, and all of a sudden, guess what? It's not okay. So, you know, it's not the child's fault by any means. These are things that the child has learned have been effective for him in the past.
Yeah.
Now he's going to school. And yes, of course, this mom is right. There's a lot of school programs that just don't have the resources to help with these types of situations. But I have to tell you, and Shannon, you'll agree, for those of us who've been around for a while, this is a good era to have a child with autism.
Really is.
Let me tell you, like, having a child on the spectrum and having access to insurance coverage is incredible. Having so many people in schools who actually even know what autism is incredible. I mean, you know, just 10 years ago, there was no health coverage at all. So think about that. I mean,
I will say, though, that I do think that the education system has not caught up to how well our kids can do. So you'll see a lot of places, I mean, we just went through this when Jem went to go to junior high, that the junior high school said to us, we don't do inclusion, we don't believe in inclusion.
Yeah.
And you said to me, don't you accept that, don't you accept that, Shannon. You keep on pushing and tell them, don't, because they wanted to put him in an SD class. He'd never been in an SD class. And you said, don't you let them do that. He's ready.
Yeah.
And that spurred me on, and I said, no, you cannot discriminate against him. You can't just put everybody in a room. And they were saying, but he'll be safer there. And I said, your lack of being able to control your other kids is not a reason to segregate my child. And as a parent, you have to get your Norma Ray on. You really
100%.
do. And you have to go in and say, you know, it's a free, appropriate public education, and it's individualized. That's why it's called an IEP.
Right.
So this isn't, what you're offering me is not appropriate for my child. It has to be individualized. My child needs to be in a gen ed classroom with support. And FAPE, the free appropriate public education, it's in IDEA, and it says in the least restrictive environment.
That's right.
In which your child can access a floor of opportunity to access the curriculum.
Right,
so
absolutely.
you have the right for your child to be in that gen ed classroom.
That's right.
But I do think that the frustration piece, as you were saying, the ABA, look, I have a whole new take on tantrums in the menopause years. I have a whole new take on them because I have thrown a couple of tantrums recently, right?
Yeah.
Because if I can't get anybody, I think there is a cruel joke in life that menopause comes when we have teenagers. I think this is particularly God laughing at us, right?
Yeah.
And
it's just God giving us the opportunity to go to another level.
Is that what it is? And so I'm at that other level. I'm at a higher learning frequency then. But you know, I've thrown a couple of tantrums because it's the only way I can get somebody to listen to me.
Right.
But when somebody gives me more skills so that I can communicate, then I do. And if your child is getting the ABA piece on the side, then the tantrums won't be there. The banging the head on the desk won't be there, which means the school will be better able to see what's happening. Because schools look at the hitting the head and they go, oh, that's not the gen ed classroom. It can be. It should be.
Right.
But I do think that you're still going to have to do some inroads and be a little bit of a pioneer for the inclusion piece. But you will leave with more for your child if you do, and you'll leave behind a legacy for other people coming behind. I know when we left Jem's junior high school, they said, thank you. Mm-hmm. We didn't know that we could do what we just did.
That's amazing.
And I said, I knew you could do it.
That's amazing. That's
and it
awesome.
It was amazing.
That's
So,
awesome.
so stick to your guns. But
absolutely.
I did that because you said to.
Well, I'm glad you did that because not only for Jem's sake, obviously, but also for other kids and other parents. Like part of this, I think, is just also our own internal fears.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as a parent, you just don't want to push your child to the point where they're tantruming, right? So it's like we end up also avoiding that experience, and we also worry and fear our children failing. So we only tend to do what that teacher was saying, put them in an environment where they're safer, because you know, safety means everything's fine for now.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean things are going to be fine in the future, right? Because this child needs to learn stuff that he will use in the future, and he's not going to learn it in this class. So those are the types of things, like, we just have to be brave about this. It's not, as a parent, I have to say, I don't know about other fields because this has been my life, right? I don't know much about anything other than autism. So this is a field where every positive change has been brought about by parents. Parents have done everything in this field, and you have to be a parent. You are a parent. You have to be one of those parents. You have to be fearless, and you have to continue this march. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a process. You and I are now looking back and saying it's so much better now than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? 40 years ago, people didn't know how to diagnose it. Nobody knew what it is.
Right.
So
I love to think about where we're headed.
Oh, the progress
because
has
it's
been
amazing.
astounding, yes.
It is absolutely amazing. So we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to be answering more of your questions, and you can write in on our live features. I haven't been able to access them yet, but I'll be taking a look during the break to see what you guys are writing in, questions on Facebook, YouTube, you name it. So stick with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Autism Live during Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is here with us in the studio. She's answering your questions in real time. Now, we had a bunch of comments that came in on Facebook, and of course, on mine, they're a little bit mixed around, so I'm going to see if I can get this right. We had somebody who wrote in and said, are there any tips for someone who is nonverbal starting a pre-K program? He says, how do I help him to transition to preschool? He uses sign language and some PECs. We're waiting for card evaluation for ABA soon. He will start in January, but not sure if it is an SPED class. And a couple of people have written in talking to him saying that they had a child went to an autistic pre-K class. He only had to go 8 to 11, so it wasn't bad. If he's having trouble, you can request this so that it's a part day. And somebody else who said the teachers will quickly pick up on his cues. And they said he's really academically smart. He knows all his letters, knows all of his numbers, 1 through 20, knows all of his colors and all of his shapes, memorizes words. He's working on tracing letters and numbers with his finger. He's able to drink out of a cup, now. There's just no verbal communication. And so a lot more discussion among the people about the verbal piece.
Does that parents say how old this child is?
I think, Gabriel, on the first part that I don't have, we got an age, didn't we? It's pre-K, so is it 4? 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Preschool soon, so we don't have an actual year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different things here. So the fact that he knows all those things is great. Those are concrete skills that have to do with memory, and that's great for him, and that's very, very good. It doesn't jive with the fact that he's tracing the letters with his fingers. So my first reaction is, oh, his fine motor skills are delayed. Like, you need to make sure that you do a broad assessment, which skills really provides that to a large extent, so that you assess across the board. So make sure, because motor is very important for everything. It's gross motor develops, then fine motor, then oral motor. So the fact that he's not talking and he's tracing with his finger makes me think there's a motor issue, which could also influence the movement of the tongue, right? So I would definitely do more practice on the oral motor muscles. And of course, speech paths are very good at.
He's about to be 3.
So he's really young. He's a little guy. That's awesome. I wouldn't be worried about him. He's way too young right now to establish that he's nonverbal. So please, let's not go there yet.
Yeah.
I would really focus a lot on oral motor exercises and trying to get utterances. Does he, since you're live, this is great. Like I'm like in. Does he make any sounds at all when he wants things, for instance, or is he completely mute?
Like even grunting.
Right. That's
right,
really
and let us
important.
know.
So I would really focus on those things. Now, I'm a supporter. I'm a stronger support. Well, there's good stuff about sign language and there's good stuff about PEC's program. I wouldn't do both, definitely. I mean, he's super smart if he's communicating with both. Super smart. Like he's tolerating you guys. Like he's like, all right, fine, change languages. I'll do both. But I would, if it was me, I would probably choose PECs only because the world can understand PECs, right? Not everyone can understand.
He says cookie, so he can say cookie.
oh, you need to work on language. You need to work on language. It's super exciting. So let's talk a little bit about the next steps, because you got to do a whole bunch of stuff now. He's a 2-year-old. You have to, don't even worry about school right now. Just put that on the side. This is not something you need to focus on. What you need to focus on at 2 is getting him a 40-hour-a-week ABA program. Yes, you heard me. 40 hours a week, one-to-one ABA. And that program will come in and work heavily. They will use PECS probably as his primary mode for now, but they will use it to get his language going. So this will involve a lot of verbal imitation, and you can start that right now. In fact, please go on Skills. I'm like, now I want you to start today.
Yeah.
So go on Skills.
Skillsforautism.com.
Skillsforautism.com. And you will answer questions. Go in the, just get licensed. I'm not sure how much it is. It's very inexpensive.
Well, I think that it's around $75 a month, but when you call to get it, and we do encourage you to get Skills to start, because you'll be able to see exactly where he is. But when you call, say that you're calling because you saw it on Autism Live, and ask them for Shannon's friends and family discount, and they'll take off quite a substantial amount. Like,
That's
I think
great.
it's 30% off if you say that you're calling after seeing it on Autism Live.
That's perfect.
And if they don't give you the Shannon friends and family, call me.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that you get that, because there is a discount.
So you definitely need to do that. So please become a Skills member. Then you'll receive a whole ton of questions. Now he's only shortly 3, so it won't be as many questions as if he was 8. But you'll get a whole ton of questions, probably around 300-400 questions. When you get these you can go and come back, and you don't have to do it all in one sitting. When you get the questions, just answer them. The questions are very simple. Does your child do X? And you say yes or no. And if you don't know, you can test it and then come back and answer it, or you could just say, I don't know. And if you say, I don't know, it'll list those items and you can test them later. But they're basic things, but they're across all modalities. So they will be from language, social, play, academic, adaptive, cognitive, and executive functions, and what am I missing? There's one, motor. Did I say motor? So it's across all areas of functioning. You'll get questions, and you'll say yes or no. Anything that he can do will go into a pool of, great, these are already mastered. Like, for instance, academically, he'll be very advanced, okay? Anything that he cannot do will go into sort of a supermarket of lessons and skills that need to be taught in order to catch him up to his age, okay? Which will be a lot of language, possibly a lot of social stuff, and so on.
I just want to remind you, because I had forgotten too, they're saying that they're in the process of starting with CARD, and that CARD has just come to their town. So they're just opening an office in their town. So they're going to ask you to do the skills assessment anyway.
They are, but I just don't want to delay things.
Exactly.
And that's great if you are starting with CARD. Maybe even just send your information to Shannon, and honestly, we can walk over and ask admissions to push it forward as much as possible. I just want you to start, because you have a child who's not yet 3, who is showing signs of being high functioning and intelligent, and the nonverbal part is what we do. We'll teach him to speak. It's just, I want you to start and not waste any more time, because it's super exciting to get your child in there and to try to teach him or her as much as possible.
And there are things that you can be doing on Skills as you wait to ramp up to having your therapists for a CARD.
Absolutely.
So, and for people who are watching, and I don't have my little tent, Veronica, I know that you're watching. If there's any way you can go in my office and bring my little Skills tent into me, because I rely on it greatly, and I don't have it on my desk today. But Skills is a wonderful tool that you can use in a lot of different ways. But one of the things you can do with Skills is take an assessment, and it will tell you exactly where your child is. Then it shows you all the lessons that Dr. Grandpichet was just talking about. So you can be anywhere in the world and ask for that friends and family discount. Tell them Shannon sent you from Autism Live. Anybody can have access to that. But if you are a card client, you automatically get it.
That's right.
And there's no extra cost to you if you're a card client.
No, not at all. And as a card client, not only do you get access, but your supervisor kind of lives on skills. Like they just go one by one, select from those lessons once you've done the assessment, and that's how we put the treatment plan together for your child. But what I want to also tell you is that, you know, if it's a new site, we're probably pretty anxious to start all the families there to build the site. But what I do want to tell you, this is the time where you should also probably be educating yourself as much as possible. And so another really good resource is IBT, which is Institute for Behavioral Training, and the URL for that is ibehavioraltraining.com, and you should get on there and start looking at some of those modules. There's a whole bunch of stuff there, like what is autism, what is ABA, how do I teach my child to communicate, how do I teach my child to not tantrum, how do I deal with my child in a restaurant, whatever it is, all these different things. And the more of these you can do, the more you'll feel like you speak the language. It's really important. Like, we get pretty technical in ABA because it's not like talk therapy or something. It's very specific ways of teaching small skills and then building on them and so on. And so there's a lot of lingo. And getting yourself familiar with, you know, what's an SD and how do I shape something or fade it or whatever, all that sort of stuff is really important.
Yeah.
Extremely important, because you're the one that's going to actually carry the hours through to real life all the time as well. So that's something you should be doing. The other thing you should be doing is just looking on Autism Live's website and looking at all the incredible video footage that's there, like from other families. There's a whole series of Mission Possible where families are talking about what happened with their child. There's the A Word, which takes you day by day through the life of this little boy and how he's acclimating and his family's acclimating to ABA. I mean, just go ahead and check out a lot of these things, because inform yourself, and it'll make you feel very much supported by this community.
I have to say, I mean, I am very particularly proud of the fact that we have a playlist that's just jargon of the day. We've been doing this for years, where we take a jargon term and I give you the actual definition and then I make fun of it, the actual definition, and then I give you the watered down, like the, you know, how to understand it from our point of view and give you an example. And I love that I'm hearing from all these colleges that they're using it in their BCBA programs.
No way.
And cracking up because I make fun of, I say, and now the definition that will give the BCBA's hives, but that we can understand. And they're using them to actually train the BCBAs, which I get very excited. I get goosebumps when I hear that from colleges and universities and BCBA programs. But it's meant for the parents, because I do make fun of the terms that you guys use and go, let's make it easy. So in any case, I definitely see that you're doing a lot of the things that Dr. Grandpichet asked you to do. Want to remind you, and we're going to take a break so that Veronica can give me my little skills tent so that I can be talking more proficiently about skills, because there's a phone number and I can't remember it. But I want to give you my email address so that if you want to reach out directly to me, s.penrod@autism-live.com. Because there are a lot of things that you can be doing to get yourself set up for success for day one when you're card therapist, when your team is assembled. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, it's very good.
When you're someplace where a card office is opening, I mean, you're really a pioneer.
Yeah.
You're a part of the beginning of a change that will happen in your community that's so exciting. I've seen it happen so many times now. And that you're at the forefront of it is a very exciting thing. And particularly with a child with these particular skills, this is going to be a good thing for you.
Absolutely. And it's a fun time. Oh my God. Like if he's saying cookie right now, the very first thing, one of the very first lessons we work on is manding, which is requesting objects and items. And he'll be saying 5, 10 more words very shortly. So it'll be very fun.
They said he also says ice cream when he's hot because
Yeah.
he wants to cool off. So, I mean, that's like putting a bunch of things together.
Yeah, very
that's
smart.
super smart.
Very
super smart.
I love that.
All right,
Okay.
let's take a break. And then we have a question that came in about potty training a 5-year-old that I want to get to. And we have another question here that I want to, about a regional center client. But let's take a break, and we're going to get my skills tent in here so that Ileana Fajeda won't, run me out of town on a rail. All right, stick with us right back after these messages. Welcome back, and so thrilled to be here with you. I love somebody said, I just happened to stumble upon this. I'm definitely going to look into skills. Let me just tell you, we couldn't find the tent, but here's the phone number for skills. You can go to skillsforautism.com, but the phone number is 877-975-4559. Don't forget to say, I was watching this on Autism Live and I want Shannon's friends and family discount. And if they don't know what that is, it's somebody new, reach out to me, s.penrod@autism-live.com, and I'll get you the friends and family discount. That I can do. Okay. Now, somebody else had written in and said, okay, so help with potty training, 5-year-old autistic boy who refuses to, mainly number 2. He just doesn't even acknowledge it, but we've tried a lot, rewarding and visuals. So what do you say, Dr. Grandpichet?
Yeah, so I'm super cautious about giving advice on potty training because I don't want to mess anything up. And you're working on bowel movement training, which is even a little bit more difficult than training for urination. But what I always say is we have 2 things going on. One is we have a series of videos here that we've done on this subject, and Sienna, I believe, did a really kind of extensive one, and you can look that one up. How they look that up is just put in the
It's easiest if you go to our YouTube page. So it's youtube.com/autism-live and put in potty training. We show it a lot on the air here. But the other thing that you can do, quite frankly, is if you just Google Ask Dr. Doreen.
Okay.
Because what that does, and this will be coming on our new website on November 1st as well.
That's great.
But right now, you can go to the YouTube page and look up all the Dr. Doreen videos, but it doesn't tell you what all the topics are. If you want to know what the topics are, just Google Ask Dr. Doreen. It will send you to a page that's on the CARD website, where it's all text. So it'll say potty training.
Yeah, which is
You
fabulous.
go to potty training, and then it shows you every question, and you can click on the question, and it takes you right to that space in the video, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And so the updated version of that, the whole Ask Dr. Doreen, every question ever asked on Ask Dr. Doreen will be coming on November 1st on the new website.
That's perfect because there's a whole series of we use at CARD the Fox and Azerin procedure, and there's a series of steps, and depending on where your child is, you have to do the next thing. So I can't really tell you the whole sequence because it might not even relate to you. Maybe he's completely trained for urination and we're just talking about bowel movements. Now if we're talking about bowel movements, it becomes really important to figure out if there are signs that you can tell he's about to have a bowel movement. These signs could be anything from, sometimes kids will go and hide in a closet or somewhere because they really want privacy. Sometimes parents can just tell by the way they tense their body. Sometimes a child will have a bowel movement at approximately the same time every day, right after eating, whatever it is. Those signs are very key to making sure that your child has a successful experience. And the bottom line with it is that you make the bathroom a fantastic, fun Disney of a place, and you take your child there. I mean, this procedure actually starts with your child spending almost all of the day there and then gradually allowing the child out. But like I said, I don't want to give you advice right now because I don't know where your child is. Just go and look at these procedures online, and I'm sure they'll be very helpful to you.
But just know that it's infinitely possible. One of the things I love about being around BCBAs is when you guys talk about potty training and you're like,
it's the easiest thing.
No, we can do that.
It's totally the easiest thing. There has never been a child who hasn't been potty trained.
There you go.
Ever.
There you go. So totally possible. Now I want to shift because we're almost out of time here. Somebody had written in, and this just broke my heart. I'm an adult with autism. I was diagnosed through Regional Center, which is here in California. I feel like I am dumb because I still live at home at 35 and have no job, have never dated, and am too stupid for school. I tried and failed for many years. What kind of work can someone like me do professionally if I'm too dumb to get an education or work a normal job? Is there a place for me? Break my heart.
That breaks my heart too. And you are not dumb, and there are a million jobs that you can do. I mean, if this is your writing,
right?
What you have in your head thinking that you are dumb is completely not right. Like, that is just not true, because you've written us a beautiful paragraph here as well, and
with punctuation so much better than most people.
Yeah, I mean, that aside, I also want to just say, like, there are all kinds of jobs, and there are all sorts of opportunities for learning how to do a particular job. We just opened our first adult center. Yeah. So I don't know where you are, but why don't you write into Shannon, and we will, whether or not you're close to our center, we'll definitely connect you with our adult supervisors, and they will help you with vocational training, which we can get coverage for from Regional Center, or even if you have health insurance, and we will help you learn skills, and we will help connect you to a job, which I think is important. But I think it's also important for you to be part of a maybe social group where you don't feel so horrible about yourself. And I'm sorry that the world has maybe, or life has maybe led to you feeling this way about yourself, but I'm certain that there are things you can be successful at that will make you feel a lot better about who you are, and we're very happy to help you with that journey.
Yeah, it just breaks my heart because somebody has sold you this bill of goods and said, you know, that you can't and that you're not smart enough, and the evidence clearly states otherwise. So please write to me, s.penrod@autism-live.com. There are lots of different things, as you said. There's, you know, a brand new center that's for adults in Downey, California.
Place, yeah.
We've had Joanne Laura on the program a lot, talking about Autism Works Now. And their program is in more places now than it ever has been before. In fact, they hold one of their programs, their mother program, in a card center here in Woodland Hills. But we are seeing more and more programs that there are for adults to teach you whatever it is you need to do to be able to have a job. And it's amazing the jobs that people can do and how good they are at it.
Definitely, and to have an enjoyable life. Like, please don't be down on yourself like this. Life is not supportive. It sounds to me like you're being punished, you know, and we can make life a lot more enjoyable.
And when you get the work piece together, and this is something that Joanne Laura has taught me, is that everybody has the right to work. And when you get the work piece together, that's how a lot of people's social lives come into play.
Absolutely.
Right?
No doubt. I mean, look at us.
Yeah.
And we all spend all day here, and we're all friends with each other. No question.
This is now our family and the people that we socialize with, and it's the way you meet people, whether it's that you know, a lot of times it's frowned upon to date with people at work, but sometimes you'll meet somebody at work who sets you up with somebody that you date with. It's a whole web of a system that maybe you haven't had the on-ramp onto that.
Right.
But I know a lot of 35-year-olds who feel that way, whether they're on the spectrum or not. It's a difficult age. And some people just lock out and find their way onto it. But don't feel bad. Don't despair. There is absolutely a place for you. I also want to throw in there, to make sure that you know today that there's a place for you, please visit wrongplanet.net. Alex Plank's website, wrongplanet.net, which he started as a 17-year-old because he felt the same way. Is there a place for me? And he didn't see it, so he made it.
That's awesome.
And you will see that there are adults who are there who talk about the same difficulties that you're talking about, but a lot of them have figured out what to do. Some of them work at Disney.
That's awesome.
And some of them work, you know, for medical companies and all kinds of things. And you'll see what they have to say about dating, And I would also tell you, you just missed it, but there is a conference, Love and Autism, every year that happens in San Diego that next year, Regional Center will pay for you to go to it. You just have to put in advance, but it would be a great place for you to go, meet people, see what they're doing.
I love that.
I love this year, I don't know if you know this, but we love Sue Cho. She's one of the most amazing people who's worked at CARD for how many years?
25 years.
Okay. And Sue just got married in the last year. And when she was talking to me about getting married, I said, do you know what you're wearing for a gown yet? And she said, no, I have no idea. And I said, well, you know, have you considered, we have a couple of designers that we've had on the show. Well, she met with a designer that we've had on the show who's on the spectrum, and he designed her gown, and they became really good friends, and he was one of the presenters at Love and Autism. So they'd been talking online, and he sent her the wedding gown, but she went and finally got to meet him last weekend for the first time.
Oh, that's
but
amazing.
These are the kind of people that you'll find at Love and Autism, so that you can feel like you find your community.
Absolutely.
We all have to find our tribe.
Yes, we do.
Right?
That's
all right.
Before we go,
yes.
Shannon, real quick, the last question asks if we do IQ tests.
Yes.
CARD doesn't, but we have a different company called Omid Psychometrics, and we do IQ testing. So the center right now is in the Hacienda Heights area, which is not too bad for you to go to if you want to schedule testing with us. So why don't you send your information to Shannon, and we can get that info out to you.
Okay, so again, s.penrod@autism-live.com, and I can connect you. That's our timer that we have done. We have to release Dr. Granpeesheh, but stick with us because we're going to be back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy Allspaw-Jackson is already here. I can hear her. And our guests today are Vince Redmond, licensed marriage and family therapist, and the fabulous Maxine Rosalier, author of Queen for a Day, my favorite book this year. So stick with us, back after these messages.